Why do we sit here being silent, watching our leaders turn into tyrants? Have they forgotten which side they're fighting for? Checks and balances set aside and rule of laws, youth and ours, and Constitution openly ignored. Man, I'm not okay. Think we are being played. Is it time for right and left to join a greater cause? Man, I'm not okay. The rich claim to be victimized just to attack the marginalized. Is 1% really worth more than all the sick and poor? Always preaching about fellowship while planning their dictatorship. Now we've seen how all of this plays out before. Man, I'm not okay. Think we are being played. Time for you and I to join our country's call. Man, I'm not okay. Ever wonder all the mystery, why they whitewash our history, keep dividing is their plan? All in all, such a scam. Algorithm very sly, only used to spread the lies. Politicians know well, hate is simple to upsell. Man, I'm not okay. Think we are being played. Time for you and I to join our country's call.
We are not okay. America is not okay, and we all know that. Former Congressman Joe Walsh, this is The Social Contract with Joe Walsh. Let's figure out how to get okay together.
I just want to say how grateful I am that you've been spending time with me on these and allowing me to learn in public, like the libertarian perspective on all these issues. I think in some ways, like it's sometimes I think people are maybe frustrated. I'm probably ideologically closer to a lot of our viewers at times. I think sometimes people are frustrated that maybe I'm not debating you more vigorously on something like school vouchers, which we discussed last week. But that's, in my view, that's not really the point of these. Like, the point of talking to people who have different ideas as us for now, and you're not someone who like loosely holds your ideals. You're a leader in this space, like in these ideas, is really just to understand your logic and you know where you land, why you landed there, what you're trying to accomplish by landing there, your experiences and whatnot. I'm just grateful that you've extended this time and allowed me to ask these questions to you. And I think in some ways you're a pro-democracy voice, and you've built your following being a Trump. I don't even want to call it defector because you never really co-signed him, but antagonist. And I think sometimes diving into these other issues is a little bit risky for you on this platform where people are very progressive and whatnot. I just want to thank you for all that.
Let me respond, my friend. The feeling is mutual. Every week we do these, I learn as well. Second point, I don't do debates anymore. I stopped a couple years ago. I spent the first 12 years of my political career debating and fighting people. I stopped that 2 years ago. I don't want to do debates. I want to have conversations. I don't care if they're heated, sometimes uncomfortable, but I'm all about having conversations. I've turned down so many TV appearances because I don't want to sit at a table and fucking debate people. I just don't want to do that anymore. That's why I think this is valuable.
Well, I'd love to know, usually I'm steering, and thank you for saying that. Usually I'm steering. I wonder what's an emergent problem that's on your mind recently. We've touched on a lot now. We touched on education. We touched on homelessness and addiction last episode. I'm wondering if you weren't doing what you're doing right now, what problem would you be working on in the country?
Xander, that's such a great question. And I want you to answer that question too. If if I wasn't in the political arena still, but I wanted to make a difference, what would I be doing? I'd be devoting 100% of my time doing what I'm doing about half the time now, out in the country trying to have conversations with regular people.
Mm.
I'd be doing that.
And you give more context because not everyone knows what you're up to. Can you share
Oh,
what you're up to in the content?
yeah. And by the way, thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you. Make sure you follow and subscribe to Xander Defiance, the great work Defiance is doing. Seeding groups to go out there on the front lines and do shit. Nothing fancy, Xander. I launched a 501c3 6 months ago. I traveled the country and I put people in a room who politically disagree, and I facilitate hard, uncomfortable, tough, honest conversations.
Mm.
I'm not trying to find common ground with these regular people. I'm a public person. You're a public person. I have no fucking interest in putting talking heads in a room or even experts in a room. I want to
Right.
put regular people in rooms. I don't want, they disagree. I don't care if they find common ground. I just want them to learn how to fucking listen to each other and gain some understanding. I think I told you this story, didn't I?
Yeah. You told me,
No.
but I
This
don't know
one,
if everyone else heard.
this
The Ohio
specific.
work?
Yeah, but this specific example, kind of
Yeah.
what prompted this was last fall when I was living in DC, I'm at a coffee shop in Virginia outside of DC,
Mhm.
having a cup of coffee with a Democratic colleague, a woman who's a good, genuine progressive. And into the coffee shop, Xander, walked two good old loving, MAGA dudes from somewhere out in Virginia. They were driving a
Mhm.
pickup truck. And they come in, this was last fall, and they are very loud and they're talking about how much they fucking love what ICE is doing.
Mm.
About time, fucking excellent. Nobody should be in this country illegally. I know the left is up in arms, but I love what finally we're getting law enforcement on our streets. They
Wow.
order their coffee and they're going on and on about how much they love what ICE is doing. They leave. And the woman, the good, decent progressive I'm having coffee with, after they leave, Xander, she's like ape shit. She cannot believe what she just heard. Joe, did you hear that? Oh my fucking God, we're done as a country. She cannot believe there are people in this country who actually love what ICE is doing. And I took that opportunity, Xander, to spend about 45 minutes with her, and I pushed her to get into their shoes because she was convinced they're MAGA bigots and they're MAGA racists and assholes. So I spent 45 minutes with her and I said, come on, try to put yourself in their shoes. How could those two fucking MAGA dudes support what ICE is doing, but they're not bigots and they're not racist? Go ahead. How is that possible?
How do you land there?
Yeah. And she and I went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And she finally begrudgingly got to a place where she said after 30 minutes, all right, I fucking disagree with them, but they believe we've had an open border for too long and our government hasn't done a good job of securing our borders. So they're finally happy to see some sort of law and order.
Yeah.
And she struggled to get there. So that's what I think. And you, by the way, you are great at this. You put yourself in anybody's shoes. You and I force each other to do it. How can somebody in America like what ICE is doing, but they're not a bigot? Make that case.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, the flip side, how can somebody love this country, deplore what Trump is doing, and they're not a fucking communist? Hey, MAGA dude, can you put yourself in their shoes? That's what I'm trying to do. I think that's what we all need to do. By the way, again, you do a lot of this.
I want to say one comment that I have so many follow-up questions, but I'll say even her thinking, and I find this happens a lot with people in our space, is like a beat too philosophical, politically philosophical than that. And my cousin, who I spent a lot of time with, he lives down the street from me. He's a Trump voter, twice, or 3 times, I guess now. He's in construction. And so his thinking is that because there's so many people to pay under the table in the country, it's pushed down American construction workers' wages. He's competing with under the table wages all the time, and it's kept him poor his whole adult life or whatnot. And oftentimes when I'm talking with Trump supporters, and maybe it's even unfair to call them Trump supporters. It's the voters who voted for Trump, right? Like, oftentimes it's something really personal like that. I had a lot like veteran. My brother-in-law is a Trump voter. He's a veteran. He's like, he bought into the No More Forever Wars thing.
Yeah.
And both of them honestly found Trump somewhat detestable as a person.
Mhm.
But what they were, I think, what they were betting on, or what they were prioritizing, is they found DC more detestable, or they
Yeah.
found it more harmful. The
Yeah.
corruption of DC, the going to war all
Yeah.
the time, the like money in politics, and feeling like there's a class of elites pulling strings. And I'm not saying it was a good assessment. Like, I think we all know now Trump is a very corrupt individual that was very happy to be corrupted in all the same ways, and more so and orchestrate corruption. But they just thought that was a bigger threat to the country and to them personally. A lot of them are not political, philo- you know, philosophers. They're
Yeah.
just kind of working with what's in their life. So I was going to ask you. You've had a lot of these conversations now. What have you learned having these conversations? It's really interesting work.
Um, Two things, Xander. I know it's popular to say that we're really not as divided as we are. It's social media, the algorithms, political media, but out there in the real country, we're not really super divided. I think we are divided because I
Mhm.
talk to people out there. I think we are divided more than the experts think. That's one. But two is people are dying to have conversations. The
Mm,
the the overwhelming response I get from people whenever I put people in a room, whether it's 2 people or 20, is at the end, "What the fuck? This was awesome. I never get to do this."
yeah.
So, and Sandra, that tells me like there's kind of a yearning out there to sit down and talk to people who don't think like you, to be heard.
Yeah, and it used to happen. Who's the bowling alone guy? Putnam, right?
Yeah,
Like, it used to happen unintentionally. You didn't have to orchestrate it in your life. You went to church, and there were different economic groups. You went to
yeah,
these shit. Like, you went to the community pool and whatnot. And there was like
yeah.
these times where like the community across class at least collided more frequently, and even sometimes rural and urban collide more frequently. How do you think, if you're seeing success in these settings and we've lost some of that, what do we need to do to scale interactions like that could like
Yeah,
rebuild those relationships? Like, how do we like start, how do we build
uh,
back, I guess, like that shared social infrastructure?
so you know what it is, Xander?
Yeah.
Yeah, to scale these, because I think the whole country should watch these. So it's like money. Like I set up a 501(c)(3). You'll find this interesting. It's super hard for me to raise money. I'm trying to raise conversation by conversation because so many people right now, Xander, especially a lot of donors, say to me, "Joe, I fucking love what you're doing, but we're fucking at war now. Trump's burning down our house right now. I don't have time right now to sit down with people who disagree with me. That's for
100%.
that's for after we win the war. That's for
Yeah.
after we stop the fire." So I'm getting that from donors across the spectrum.
Coincidentally, the name of my Substack, After We've Won, is
Af-
so we can have these conversations. My
Whereas,
personal.
and then what I try to do is I try to I try to rebut that with these donors by saying it's these conversations that'll help defeat Trumpism, because Trump and my former party right now are living on division. If you can break down the division, you take one big leg away from their stool. But that's still a hard case to make. because we got to win the House. We got to win the Senate. Trump needs to be impeached. I'm not going to give you 20 grand to go sit down with 10 MAGA people in Montana next week.
Right.
That's hard.
There's a scaling argument to it. But at the same time, I feel like we're locked in, Joe. I feel like we're locked in this vicious cycle.
Yes.
And we keep trying to be firefighters. So the Democrats, for example, and this new ruling by the Supreme Court is really going to, pour gasoline on this, where the political parties can basically support candidates with unlimited funds. The Democrats are looking at the Republicans and saying, oh shit, we need to catch up. So we don't have time to reject being, funded by the elites, even though like America is saying, please, someone be disconnected from the elite.
Yeah.
We want someone that's a champion outside of the Epstein class that'll go outside, at the Epstein class. But the Democrats are like, we'd like to do that, but shit, the Republicans are raising all this money. So we got to raise all this money. So we've got to go, also cater to elites and whatnot. And we don't have time for that right now. And we'd love to, build a political party that includes everyone. But right now, the politically popular thing is not only to go after Trump, but go after all of his supporters. That gets the clicks and the retweets. Yeah. And to your point, the funders are also saying, look, we don't have time to do like the cultural and spiritual work. We've got to go win the House. Yeah. But it's like this neglect, and it's like this neglecting of building the culture and the base you need to move past this moment in so many ways, because people feel alone and angry and unheard. And so that's why I'm so interested to go back to like, this used to happen organically because you had church groups and unions that many people were members of and all sorts of social infrastructure that people were a part of. And so this just existed in society. And so for efforts like this, I wonder what other ways you could plug into it. I mean, you're a libertarian. Are there market solutions? Like, is there obvious market solutions of, local businesses that would want to host these things? I know it's like a little bit scary for the private sector to get so politically engaged, but maybe it can be framed differently. How have you thought about other ways to make realize this?
Xander, when you think about it, the problems on the MAGA side may be more pronounced, but like there's super duper intolerance on both sides. And you know enough and I know enough now that there are so many people on the left who tell me every day, fuck it, Joe. I don't care what MAGA thinks. We're at war right now. So it's across the board. And I think, so you would think that the business community, this is like a bipartisan problem. Mm-hmm. But Xander, it still smells of politics. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, why, like you and I, why doesn't CNN have a show like this? I mean, why is there not a cable news show with a libertarian host, a socialist host, and they bring on people across the spectrum every night to talk about different issues? Both sides listening to each other. Sometimes it gets heated, but it's always respectful. Why isn't there that show? I guess I would say because there's no market for that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm out there every day, and the American people tell me they love this. I don't. Where's the disconnect?
Yeah, you've got to tap into that Ted Lasso market. Ted Lasso figured out how to be just feel good, and everyone. But that doesn't solve the like everyone having that experience. Can you talk to me a little bit about how to do that right? Because I also imagine that, you took a while to figure out how to have that conversation in a way where it doesn't devolve into name calling and anger and like the usual, toxicity, to your point, that is so present.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess in a weird way, I'm a unique guy to do this because of my weird fucking journey of the last 13 to 14 years. I think if a hardcore lefty went out there and tried to do this, there wouldn't be a lot of trust on one side of the scale.
And that exists, by the way. Joan Blades, who started Move On, has something called Living Room Conversations.
Yeah.
And it's great. I know Joan and I like her work. I like her work at Move On. I like her work now. It's funny. She oftentimes talks about that her work at Move On contributed to the climate. And she's also kind of trying to rebuild,
that's cool.
A less toxic environment. But to your point, like, and I think this is well put, is like, all these platforms seem to have a lot of different trusted messengers and trusted operators, depending on
Yeah.
to allow different folks to feel safe stepping into them. And someone that feels politically neutral or homeless, whatever you want to call it, makes a lot of sense. But yeah, how do you
Well, there's
how do you operate these things?
yeah. At the beginning, you go right at their fear. Because people are afraid to do this. Even when they sign up and they come into a room, they're afraid to say what they believe in front of people who don't think like them. So you got to go at that fear. And there are people who come into the room, Xander, and they're ready to pounce. Boom, boom,
Ready to
boom.
go for it.
I lay down the ground rules at the beginning, and there's only one fucking ground rule. I have 2 requests for people, and then I lay down the ground rule. The requests are listen. I mean, fucking listen. Don't listen to pounce, listen to understand. And I go after that throughout the conversation. The other request is do not fucking give up what you passionately believe in. I think a lot of people feel like they've told me that when they come into rooms like this and conversations like this, they got to kind of put over here how passionate they are about certain issues. Fuck that. I want people in a room who passionately believe what they believe. That's what I am. So I don't want people to lose their passion for what they believe in. That's part of the fear. But the only fucking rule is respect. You can get uncivil, you can raise your fucking voice, you can get personal, but you better be fucking respectful. And if I don't think you're respectful, I'm getting you out of the room. Period. That's the only request. Is just be fucking respectful.
Yeah. Facilitation.
Oh, and be honest. I want people to be honest.
Yeah.
Hey, Miles, Xander, I wanted to ask you this.
Yeah.
And I'm not changing topics, but I want to ask you this. I'm at a July 4th party out in the country in southern Arizona the other day. And about halfway through this big gathering of about 100 to 200 neighbors, they gather everybody together and they say a prayer, which is common everywhere. But Xander, what blew me away was the prayer, the final third of the prayer out in the country was to help God. God, please stop this surge of communism in this country, the rise of communism in this country.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Xander, I did a fucking wow to myself. I even turned to a few of my MAGA guys in the crowd and I said, fucking really? Really? And then we had a conversation. But answer me this. I was blown away by that. But that told me, and it tells me that this labeling shit that my former party is doing now, communist, socialist, communist, it's going to work to a degree.
Which you
Especially
got hit with. You got hit with the other day. I was looking at your Substack. You got called a socialist like 2 days ago.
I'm a socialist. So how do you, my socialist democratic friend, how do we beat that stupid bullshit lie labeling, the communist surge in America? How do we personalize that and beat that? Because that scares the hell out of me.
There's been a lot of money and energy pumped into going after that brand. And it's like, yeah, maybe you just don't, maybe people like me who want to build a bigger safety net in this country should stop kneecapping ourselves by saying we're that, just because it's such a polarizing. And I get why people say it's such a polarizing term. People also say it because it's polarizing too. So it gives you a boost and you get traction when you say it. It's exciting.
Yeah.
But really, the socialists in this country aren't talking about the type of socialism that, the right associates with social. Like there's an authoritarian.
Yeah.
When they say it, there's an authoritarian layer to it, which is different than, I think it's like, if you look at me, I'd like to have social programs that raise the social safety net. I'd like to see a lot more regulation on private industry, but I'm not necessarily saying like every industry, the government should be like the operator of the means of production. I think very few American socialists That's
So
what
is
they're
that what
angling
you
for.
need to
You
do?
know what I
Is
mean?
that what people on your side need to do when somebody screams communist or socialist? You say, no, here the fuck is what I mean specifically. This is what I'd like to do. Call
I
that
mean,
what you want.
you can tell them what to do, but good marketing says I should build my brand around what you already believe. And so, right, in the same way, I think you and I both discovered that the Republican and Democratic brand is not the most helpful brand in many
Yeah.
geographies and whatnot too. And
Yeah.
so I mean, I consider myself a pretty good marketer. I've done. I'll give you an example. When I started Defeat by Tweet was an effort where people could donate a penny every time Trump tweeted, and it went to swing state black-led community organizers. And we raised for about a 2-year window. I was the largest PAC funder of black organizing in America through this thing. If I had called this fundblackpower.org, I would not have had the same success. But because I knew the energy was I want to defeat Trump, right? This is 2019, 2020. I want to defeat Trump. And I was giving them a real way to do that, that also advanced my goals of I was trying to empower more black communities so they had more autonomy over the political candidates that were elected
Mhm.
in their area, their DAs, their mayors, all these things with a lens towards um, helping them reform their own local justice systems, right? And so I say that to
But
say I was using the momentum of culture and narrative to accomplish my goals versus forcing them to believe a
okay,
thing and the
okay,
terminology they want. Yeah.
okay, Mr. Marketer. And I know you'd never let yourself be hired by the Democratic Party, but let's say the Democratic Party offered you money tomorrow to help them combat this communist label bullshit and the socialist label bullshit. Xander Schultz, help us. What can we do marketing wise to combat this?
Corruption. Make
What would you do?
become the anti-corruption party. Literally
Ah,
fucking stop taking big dollars. Be like, America's begging someone to be an outsider. You're like, we fucked up. We fucked up. We got aligned with big money in the same way our Republicans were. We thought we had to do it to compete with them. It
yeah,
changed. We see now how it's manipulated our priorities, how it's not the type of alliance that the American people want from both political
yeah,
parties. And we're going to
yeah,
step away from that alliance and we're going to be the people's party. And we're going to go right at corruption because we know that's what so many people are frustrated with. We're going to be unapologetic about it, and that's what we're going to do all day. And like roll with that. And it's not like that's outside of the progressive thesis in any way. You can build a huge coalition around it. This is what fucking King was great at, dude. King said, like, we'll do voting rights this year, we'll do civil rights next year, or I think it was in that order. And then wrapped it. He didn't just talk about voting rights; he talked about love. And so you like wrap it in something even more patriotic than just corruption. Like corruption's part of it, but that's it. That's where the energy's at in this country. Be
I
about
love
it.
that.
Be about it. People like and fucking be unapologetic about it. And Schumer trying to like, and this has turned out like I think you might have called that main thing a little bit early. You're probably, I don't know if that's the information you got. That was the tip you got, but you've been saying for a while something else was about to drop with Graham Plattner.
Yeah,
But Schumer, between like Mamdani and Plattner and all this, constantly when there's someone who's saying, they keep saying they want to have more young voters, they want to expand the tent, but then when someone gets traction, that's not aligned with their priorities. They don't learn from them. They compete against them in so many ways. And so I think what we've seen across the political spectrum, across the economic thesis spectrum, whether it's you or me, Joe, the reason we both have some followings right now, we're anti-corruption. We don't like fucking corruption, the corruption that Trump's been engineering and why else, but we didn't like the corruption beforehand either.
well, in fact, in fact, it may be the main driver that kind of launched this conversation was how you and I disagree politically on so much, but we're fundamentally anti-corruption and pro-reform.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think,
And honestly,
Xander, I think that's genius. I think that's genius. Just
I,
focus on that initially.
Just literally fucking drop the name. I would change your name. Forget it. No one likes a Democrat. Anyway, it's a shitty brand. You've got 20% approval or 18% approval.
Yeah.
Fuck it. We're the anti-corruption. We've rebranded. This is our priorities. We're the pro-American worker anti-corruption group. And this is what we're doing. Like what usually what kills big companies, I'm talking about private sector now,
Yeah.
is they become so big they can't make like quick decisions anymore.
Yeah.
It's like they're
Yeah.
so entrapped by their own marketing and identity and internal politics and whatnot. They can't go, the market's fucking changed. And we're living in there where the market changes incredibly rapidly, how quickly a market changes. So be it. Say, look, it's not going to, the problem is like some of Democratic leadership has been captured by that same group that we're telling them to reject. So we probably won't see it from them. So you need a breakout from that group to go, this is where we're migrating. We're migrating to the anti-corruption party. We're going to try to pull in a lot of the donors from it. It needs to be, you have someone who has the relationships, the small dollar donors and whatnot, where you're trying to pull them into it. And boom, we're here. Now, we do have groups like that, the Working Families Party, the Democratic Socialists, although they've been on some shit lately. They've been wild. They've been crushing AOC and Botani. I don't know what's going on with those guys. But we do have groups like that, but that's different than what Trump did with the Republican Party, which he took over the party. He's like, this is now our agenda. It's not free market libertarianism. It is fucking nationalism and tariffs and all this other stuff and anti-immigration, right? Whatnot. It's too hard to do it without infrastructure. So you need to migrate that infrastructure around that brand.
But one other political point, and by the way, I think what you've just said over the last 7 minutes is fucking genius. And that hadn't occurred to me, but that's what you lead with. That's what you run on. Trump's key, Xander, was he tapped into the populist base anger in the Republican Party, and he ran against the Republican Party establishment. I was part of that base. He tapped into it. He used it. So what Democrats are doing right now is I think they're going to have to tap into their populist anger, which, and I say this as someone who's not on the left, it's coming from the left. And so I think that voice has got to come from the left. It ain't going to be an establishment voice.
I mean, a lot of the Rust Belt workers were on the left too. Like this is the thing that drives me crazy when like they're all racist. Like these guys voted for Obama, a lot of them. Like we lost the entire fucking Rust Belt, and we won the entire Rust Belt when Obama was running. So it's not all racists that are motivated by that. Like we have a lot of people, to your point, that are now driven to be. I even fucking hate that term, economic populism, to be honest. It's just popular. It's like a popular, it's just a popular stance. They have seen work and opportunity dry up in their areas, and they need someone that's willing to fucking throw a Hail Mary. And I think to a certain extent, as much as we crushed Trump for those tariffs, and rightfully so, they're completely poorly executed. I think many people, even though it rose prices, are not abandoning him because of that, because he threw spaghetti at the wall on their problem, which was manufacturing is left. I'm going to try to get it back. I'm going to tear up the world, and I'm not going to let this DC mechanism slow me down. I'm just going to fucking try it and see what happens. And for many reasons, it didn't work out. One, because his strategy was like not well executed. Two, I think you mentioned this, we can't go back. We're not going to retrace ourselves to like a past economic situation. And three, he's so unstable. No private company can bet on it. So it's like, I can't invest $100 billion in infrastructure because you might be done with this idea 6 months from now and totally reverse course. And so it didn't work, but I think people are sticking with them despite that failure and despite its impact on rising prices, because he's throwing spaghetti at the wall, to figure out how to reverse course on what they've seen in the downs.
Yeah. And what you just said, your number two, is something you and I have talked about a lot. We ain't going back. We ain't going back to a 1954 America where every single part in the car you drive is made right here in America. We ain't going back there.
Yeah.
Clean coal, we ain't going back. So then the Hail Mary, the voice has to be, okay, so then now what? It can't. I don't want a Democrat to stand up in the public square and bullshit and lie like Trump did, which is we can go back. Hey, working class Americans, Rust Belt, I can bring 1954 back for you.
Yeah. No, I think that it's not going to happen. But I think you literally didn't. I became really close with Andrew Yang when he was running for president in
Yeah.
2020,
Yeah.
partially because I thought he was the only one even fucking talking about this on the Democratic side when he was talking about the plight of the American workers and what's happened there. He wrote a great book. If you guys haven't read it yet, The War on Normal People.
Yeah.
Which laid out the case for like how many of these guys, I think it's like millions of people in the Rust Belt are on disability now as basically a form of UBI because they've lost their jobs and no one's reskilling them. And it's like a miserable, like they call it deaths of despair on the rise in those areas. It's a miserable way to be. It's not dignified. And so, or it doesn't feel dignified for many. And so, but like that narrative was a completely neglected narrative. The negative impact of globalization on Rust Belt workers was completely neglected on the left, and we didn't really have a ton of solutions for it. I think actually Joe, to your point, you give him credit for this. Biden did a lot of things. You know, the CHIPS Act, the infrastructure, like he was moving us forward. He was just a fucking terrible communicator. But it was the right idea. It's like if you get a good communicator to communicate that platform, that was probably you know, that was the marriage you needed to make it work. But execution wise, it was the right idea. Especially with chips and everything, these new industries that are coming online, we have the economic power to demand a lot of that manufacturing and supply chain takes place here.
I see, Xander, I always love these conversations because you've given me my takeaway. It's anti-corruption. Hey, they're calling us communists and socialists. Fuck them. Anti-corruption. I want to do away with corruption. That's the answer.
Literally get rid of the donkey. Who fucking cares? It's a bad brand. Rebrand. The private companies do this all the time. Get rid of the donkey. Stop calling yourselves Democrats. Be the anti-corruption party. Fucking embrace it. You know, like, and do it. Like, I don't know, who's the best anti? I fucked around on Substack a few days ago and put a Robin Hood fox as like an alternative to the donkey. I don't know if it's that, you know, like they're stealing money from the rich to give to the poor. You probably wouldn't co-sign that. There's maybe a better logo, but like everyone is begging political elite to be bold. Please be bold. It's not going well. We're not on a good path. Please be bold. That would be bold. Be like, we're changing our whole thing. We're changing the name. We're changing the priorities. Here they are. 1, 2, 3. This is how we're going after them. Well, who's the logo? Who's the anti-corruption logo? What do you think? What would you put? What animal is most anti-corruption?
See, Xander, I got to tell you, again, the libertarian I am, though, I've always been enamored with the whole Robin Hood thing. That fox.
Tell me more. Tell me more about it. What do you mean? What do you mean?
No, we'll talk. No, that's for next week.
Okay.
But the Robin Hood fox, that's not bad. That's better than a fucking donkey.
It's better than a donkey. Who likes a donkey? It's terrible branding. Who fucking wants to be a donkey? Like.
Hey, this was fun. Everybody, make sure you follow and subscribe to Xander and me. And again, Xander doesn't pay me to say this. If not the best, one of the very best groups out there doing great work is Defiance because they're spawning other groups to do shit. So if you want to do shit, please support what Defiance is doing.
No, the Defy Ants are advocating for the ant. I like an ant. An ant is a lot of small pieces that come together and build great things. So, yeah, maybe it's the Defy Ant. I like it. Oh, my
God. That's
all right, gang. Joe, nice seeing you, brother. Thanks for jumping on.
Thanks, Xander.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Remember to listen, follow, and share The Social Contract with Joe Walsh on Apple, Spotify. Plus, don't forget to subscribe to The Social Contract on Substack. This has been The Social Contract with Joe Walsh.